A week ago, I listened to the studio version of Terrapin Station by the Grateful Dead. And it was one of the first Grateful Dead songs that I've heard so far since I started listening to the Grateful Dead about 2 or 3 weeks ago. So it's been a very short journey for me so far. But I did make this video and, I go over the words, and then you probably have all seen it if you're here today. If you haven't, you can watch it. But what everyone was recommending to me is that I hear a live version, because actually I've been enjoying most of the live things that I've heard. I liked a lot better than the studio things I've heard. So I wanted to compare to that. Now, what I want to do while I'm listening today is I'm actually going to be typing notes as I go so that I can just think about my thoughts as I'm having them, because it is 12 minutes and it's hard for me sometimes to remember everything that I'm thinking about. And then that way I can see how I like it compared to the studio version, which, if you remember, had like a choral section and an orchestra section and a fade out and like some interesting features. And that we found out was this very artsy piece, kind of with different sections with a hero's journey and all that. So I wonder what it's going to be like in the live. Yes. So anyway, today is Thursday, May 29th. I had a live stream last night. We heard a Jerry Garcia band piece, which I really liked. I actually liked it better than any of the Dead things. I just haven't published that video yet, but I will. And we listened to the Allman Brothers. I'd never heard them before, so that was cool. And then we listened to some other thing. And just to show you, today I'm wearing this pink dress. It has a slit, but it's nice. I do really love dresses. I try to dress very feminine and pretty, and I get cold. That's the only thing. So in the winter, and in California it gets cold at night. Even if it's summer, you always kind of have to wear a jacket. But when it's warm, I like to wear dresses because I just think they're very pretty and feminine. And I tend to, if you want to know anything about me, I prefer bright colors. So I tend to wear a lot of hot pink and red and purple and stuff like that. So let me just get everything set up in a nice way so that you can see me, that I can type. Okay, that's okay. I wish it was, that's better. I gotta angle it so my head all fits, but you guys can also read my thoughts. See, I'm gonna have Terrapin Station. Oh, there's probably 2 R's there, huh? Terrapin Station. There, I was something's off there. All right, so let me start the track and I'll try to react, and then afterwards I'll talk about it. I don't want to stop. Some people have actually said they like that I don't stop in the middle of my reactions, so I let things play through. And that's why I'm going to type. Because otherwise a lot of reactors stop a lot and go, oh my God, right? And I sometimes want to do that, but I'm trying to make myself not do that. Therefore, notes. Okay. Here we go. Terrapin Station. Live. Oh, this is from February 26, 1977, which was in San Bernardino, California, which has been, I did some research, and this one is revered as a very good one.
That will not forsake me till my tale is told and done. flames will grow as things we've never seen will seem familiar. Shadows of a sailor fall, winds both proud and fair all small. Down in Carlisle he loved a lady many years ago. Beside him stands a man, a soldier from the looks of him, who came through many fights but lost in love. As the storyteller speaks, a door within the fire creaks, suddenly flies open and a girl is standing there. She takes her pen and throws it in the lion's den. Which of you to gain me tell, risk uncertain pains of hell? I will not forgive you if you will not take the chance. No choice, soon you will not hear his voice. His job is to shed light to man. Barely left at him, that's how it stands today. You decide if he was wise. Storyteller makes no choice, soon you will not hear his voice. His job is to shed light, not to master. Terrapin. Out the stars by candlelight, all are dim but one is bright. The spiral light of Venus rising first and shining best. Oh, from the northwest corner of a brand new crescent moon. Crickets and cicadas sing a rare and different tune. Terrapin Station. Shadow of the moon. Terrapin Station. And I know we'll be there soon. I can't figure out if it's the end or beginning. The train's put its brakes on, and the whistle is screaming. Terrapin.
We're experiencing our first technical difficulty, but our crack equipment crew is having at it right now. This is expected to be only the minorest of problems.
Okay. All right. If you were reading my notes as they were happening, or maybe they're too small for you, but either way, let's go over it. I was trying to make the font big for like, you know, everyone's eyes, but it doesn't like it. Now it's freaking out. Apparently the Notes app can't handle a font change. I'll use Google Docs next time. All right. Well, overall, I liked that more. Part of the reason is that when I was listening to it the first time, I didn't know what was going on. So if I don't have a roadmap to follow, because I've never heard something before, my brain feels like it has to predict. And I'm like an AI machine, okay? Like, you know how AI is predicting things based on all the knowledge it has? That's like our brains, okay? So I have all this musical knowledge and all the things I've ever heard before. And then generally music is pretty predictable. You kind of know like, okay, the chord progression's either going to do this or going to do this. And so when I'm listening to something new, I'm like, okay, what's going to happen next? And when I don't know what's going to happen next, it's a little bit unsettling until I know. I know that maybe you guys don't understand that, but that's just what it is to be a very musical person. It's like when I hear music, I hear so much at once and it's extremely overwhelming. It's like I have very sensitive auditory processing. So I hear sounds. If I'm in a restaurant and I hear all these conversations around me, I actually hear all the conversations around me. I can't focus. It's really hard for me to just talk to the person across from me because I can hear everybody's conversations and actually understand them. So when I listen to music, I usually don't even hear the words the singer is saying. I'm hearing it as a line. I'm hearing it as a melody. And then only the words. It's really hard for me to decipher the words because I'm also trying to filter them out from hearing all of the separate instruments. And because the Grateful Dead has more than 4 instruments, because look, a lot of bands have 4. 1 guitar, 1 bass, 1 keyboard, and 1 drums. That's pretty easy for me to decipher 4. But when we're talking like 2 guitarists and then more than 1 percussion player, and maybe there's like more than just a keyboardist, then you have a separate singer who's doing, and then harmonies, you're just adding in all these layers, polyphony, right? And there's a lot more to hear at once. So a lot of that was going on in the studio version of Terrapin Station. I mean, they even put in a full-on choir, okay? So it's just like a lot to process for someone who's never heard it before, for at least someone with my type of brain. And that's because I have a musical brain. That's why I can also listen to a song I've never heard and then like kind of figure it out, be like, oh, okay, these are the chords, this is the melody, and then I can kind of like put it together pretty quickly. But that's just because my brain is super, it's like it's on fire with music, okay? Now, because I'd heard it once and I knew the structure, and because I'm so good at memorizing music, I was like, oh yeah, I remember that part. Oh yeah, that was in the studio version. Oh yeah, that was in the studio version. Like I pretty much remembered how the studio version went. And so when all of those sections went to the next part, I wasn't just like, oh my God, what's happening, right? And in fact, I was like welcoming those changes because I'd heard it before. So it felt like comfort, if that makes sense. Because once you know how it's supposed to go, I'm like, okay. So I thought it was a really nicely done live version. I think it's totally fine without the chorale. They put in the whole English chorale, that whole operatic singing part. Oh my gosh, this Terrapin Station is just like crashing out. It's total. I like crashed it. So if I close this, I'm gonna have to just get rid of that. Okay, we'll see if that's saved. Okay, good. It's saved, so I can reopen this. I want to read out if you guys couldn't see what I was reading. Okay. So we have here guitar with rhythm, that was in the beginning, another guitar, add bass drum, establish rhythm. It kind of started out like they were warming up, then they all came in together. Then there was like a big like beat drop and like all the instruments came in together and it was like very full sound, big sound. I like the bass line. It kind of has its own, I said it has a life of its own because it's not just some boring bass following along with the guitar. It's not just providing, the bass in general is providing I know it's like, I can't say the word bass again, but it's providing the chordal outline because usually the bass is playing the root of the chord, typically. But this bass, in between having to establish the root of these chords as they happen, it really has its own life. It has its own little melody, its own little intertwining thing it's happening. So I thought that was cool. Then it was like very groovy. I was like, oh, this is so 70s. And then when he was singing this, I thought it was done really well. And I'm a singer and I'm a voice teacher. I'm pretty picky on singing. And of course, whenever anyone is singing and playing at the same time, I take a lot of grains of salt with their singing. I don't expect it to be to the same level. If you're just singing in a recording studio or you're a solo singer, or you're the frontman singer, you don't have to play at the same time. You can do so much better at singing when you don't have to play an instrument. Whenever I'm like playing piano at the same time and singing, my singing goes down a bit in my total performance capacity. So that's just how it is. So if they're doing a pretty good job while playing, I'm like, bravo, you know? Obviously, I didn't have a video, so I couldn't see how he was expressing to the audience, whether his eyes were open, whether he's telling the story, whether he's outward focused. One thing that I really judge bands on is when singers are, whether they are outward focused or inward focused. And I think for most instrumentalists, you can play and be completely inward focused, like just be kind of introverted in your playing. I think for singers, if singers do not find a way to connect with their audience and to bring those words and the story to the audience, it can often feel a little bit unfulfilling as the audience, because the most meaningful vocal performances are where the singer is able to really encompass the lyrics and in everything they say, and that transfers out to the audience. So an example of where there's a lot of a lost opportunity is when singers close their eyes a lot. So like when I first reviewed Fish and it was a Mike Gordon song, Mike Gordon was singing and the whole time he was like squinting his eyes while he's singing. And unfortunately, that really makes, in my opinion, it just doesn't transfer the meaning of the song. Because how can you, the eyes are the windows of the soul. How can you transfer the meaning of what you're feeling if you're not like looking with that emotion in your eyes as you're singing it? So that's a big thing, I think, if you want to give a very impactful vocal performance, you can't close your eyes. So again, I don't know, I can't see the video on this. But what did I say? I liked how, I said the melody is much more catchy to me. That's what I said earlier, like since I've heard it before. The piano and synthesizer counter-melody was cool. Sound balance is a little meh due to it being live in the 70s, but it's not the fault of the band. I like how the instruments filled in a secondary lead whenever the voice is resting. Yes, whenever the voice was resting, they never left silence. They never just let it be like a few beats of like 1, 2, 3, 4, which is like filler drum or something. No, they were like filling in some kind of counter melody in between the vocal line. I will not forgive you if you do not take the chance. I was like, okay, like I kind of understand that. You have to at least try in life. If you don't even try, you can never know what's going to happen, whatever that applies to, right? The guitar solo started out with like the melody of the song, and then later it got into more variations and interpolations, what's the word? Interpretate, whatever. There's this word. It's like there's interpretation and there's interpretation. I don't remember. There's one where it's like, it's basically making variations of the original thing and then getting even more and more interpretive, kind of being based on the original melody, but taking it more and more outside of the original realm and just adding in more spice, if you will, more flavor. I like how the downbeat comes in strongly with the voice. Then I was listening to the drums and trying to like isolate out what I heard. So I heard like a snare. Could you hear the snare? Because the snare has that like, and then there's like the, so the snare is the one that has the like chain underneath. So it's like, it's the one they play like this, but then like it has like that shaky thing. And the hi-hat is like, the hi-hat looks like this little like hat. It has the two cymbals kind of, and it's like, and yeah, I heard a lot of hi-hat. Extra music and guitar solo, guitar veering off the scale. Oh yeah, this was the dissonance section where we started getting out of the main area. Dissonance was increasing across the instruments, which means there was more clashing with the instruments. So we got more cacophony, if you want to know the word. It's, let's see if I can spell it. Cacophony. Did I spell that right? Phony, there we go. Spell check. Cacophony, which is the opposite of harmony. Harmony is when sound works together and like creates like nice sounding harmony, like sounds that work together and make it sound pleasant. Cacophony is when the sounds like clash with each other because there's a lot of sound waves that are bumping into each other because the pitch is, yeah. So that's cacophony, or just complete mess of like, you know, a cat fell into a metal trash can to the cacophonous thunder of the night as it tipped over. Cacophony. Tonal shift. What? And then, then we were in a different key suddenly. And then I asked, what scale is this? It's something that I had to figure out later if I took the time to. Then they get to the like moral of the fable. The story progresses, so the sound changes. There's a chromatic trill. They put in mysterious. You know, it's always mystery. Remember in Ghostbusters when he goes, oh, the ghosts, they hate that. Remember that? Okay. So next section, new theme. All right, then they say inspiration. And then when they say the word inspiration, they made it sound like inspiration. Like the chord was inspiration. The music itself, at the moment they said inspiration, was inspiration. I was like, okay, that fits. I like the chord there on the space and there right after the singing. I was saying that right as I was happening. So if you go back and rewind this video, you'll see when I wrote, oh, I like that chord. It was right after it played the chord. Good guitar melodies intertwining with the vocal line. Then I made the font bigger. I said this is so much better than the studio version, in my opinion, or maybe I'm just used to the song now, so it's not too unpredictable for me. Then it started with Terrapin little, then I got Terrapin louder, then I got even louder, then I got even louder. So I made the font bigger as they were saying Terrapin, which I guess is some kind of turtle. Whatever. So yeah, that was my favorite part from the studio version was the little intertwining melodies. Oh yeah, that's when they go do 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 do, those little parts in between the dun 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 do 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 do. That part I like when they do the little quiet. It almost sounds like a flute or something from like a medieval court or something, you know, like the court musicians in the 1600s in England or something. That do 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 do, you know, little recorder player. Okay, then a drum roll in the right place because the drum's kind of then always love a good drum roll, right? Okay, like the rhythm getting louder. Oh, and then they contrast with my little duet melodies. Do 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 do. I'm like, how are they going to end it without a choir? It just kind of ended. I don't know if that was their technical difficulty or whether that was on purpose. Some guitar, space instrumentation, fading percussion, piano trill, interesting. Then they were tuning octaves. I think these were their technical. They just started going like they were just like tuning their guitars. I think in the end they were kind of just playing something else because then they played this weird like, I don't know if it's called bluesy or just kind of like dun 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 dun. I think it might have been a different song, but it was interesting because the recording kept going past Terrapin Station, but I didn't really understand what was going on. Was anyone there that knows? If anyone was there, San Bernardino, 1977. That's the Inland Empire, y'all. I'd like to know why at that moment they were like, we're having technical difficulties, da 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 da. So you deadheads who have know all the history, please let me know. Okay, well, that's my reaction. If you guys want to compare that to my original reaction to the studio version, go ahead. As you can see, I've warmed up to it quite a bit. I've also since then discovered dead songs that I actually like. But you'll see when you see my reaction to the Jerry Garcia band, After Midnight into Eleanor Rigby into After Midnight, I was blown away by that. So it's kind of like, ooh, I kind of like that Jerry Garcia band better than any Grateful Dead I've heard so far. So, and I asked the chat, because this was during a live stream, I'm like, are the Deadheads going to be mad if I think that the Jerry Garcia band is better? And they're like, some will think it's blasphemous, but some will agree with you. I was like, okay, cool. It's just that he's such a good guitarist, and that song was done so well. And then when he goes into Eleanor Rigby, anyway, that's a different video. So watch that video when it comes out soon. Or maybe it's already out, because I'm not sure what's going to get published first. All right, well, this is my reaction. If you think I should react to a different Terrapin Station version, let me know. I'd be fine to listen to a lot of Terrapin Stations if that's what you guys like. I think it's kind of cool to like compare things side by side. I could do a more side by side comparison if that's of interest to the audience. Some people have asked me how they can tip me or contribute or whatever they want to call it. I am trying to find the right window because I get lost here when I Close window. Okay. Good. Okay, here we go. So, for those who are a little bit not very technical savvy, let me show you how you can help financially if you want. Look, I'm just trying to get my channel monetized because then YouTube will just give me advertising dollars and then that will be good for everybody, right? But if you want to sponsor something, if you want to request a certain thing that I listen to and you want me to get it sooner than later, the best way, or if you just want to be nice and send me something because you like my channel, if you go to my channel, which if you type in Erica Retro Gaming, right, then you click here, and now this is my channel, right? If you just click on this link tree, you'll have all my links here. So the financial options at this point are you can pay with a credit card here. It's just a regular Stripe checkout, which is the most common credit card system on the internet. Stripe is basically most small businesses and all big businesses are using Stripe to process their credit cards. So that's what this is. It goes straight to me. I have a Patreon. You can subscribe as a member there for $10 a month. Down the road, I'll probably have my live stream recaps only there. For now, I still have a lot of clips from my live stream available. But I'm going to edit out things that only happen in the live stream. Like things like you just had to be there, like conversations we had to have that are in between the context of reacting to a song. In the long run, those are just going to be available for premium. But then, of course, everyone's welcome to come to my stream live. My next live stream is going to be Sunday night at 6 p.m., but that's going to be a fish-only live stream just because it's been requested. However, I'm happy to start other ones, which is either we can do general jam bands, or if there is enough interest from the Grateful Dead, Deadhead community, I'd be happy to make another night dedicated to the Grateful Dead. So we can talk about all that, but that would be some things. If you just want to be a member, then you can it's a $10 a month contribution. And then I have Cash App, which is like a alternative to Venmo and all that. So that's just how you can support me. In a few weeks, I should have payments within YouTube activated because I'm on track to becoming monetized so fast thanks to all your guys' support. Thanks for being patient with me as I delved into the Grateful Dead. I don't know, but look, it is really hard to come into something you've never heard before. And as I was trying to explain the way my brain works, I like the predictability in music, and when I don't know the predictability in music and it's the first time hearing it, I'm just kind of like, whoa, this is a lot to take in, right? It's like processing time. Like it takes me a while to really sit with it and then to be like, okay, this is good or not good or whatever, okay? So, but I'm open-minded, and I also I'm happy to hear multiple versions of the same song because obviously, because I'm learning so much about this band, it's all about the live performances. It's all about those moments that people experience live. So I love hearing your stories about those moments. If there's anything you think we should be passing on, like knowledge from people who were there, I'd like to document all that before you all get too old, because it's a shame, as you know, Jerry Garcia is no longer with us. Everyone's sad about it. But that's exactly why if you guys were there and saw him perform live, those are the kind of stories that we need to be capturing, because anything that we document, whether it's me telling your story, like if you don't want to be interviewed or you don't want to show your face, your voice, but I read it out loud, for example, that's still documenting it in history so that someone can hear the story. So I think it's important that we tell those stories. Or if you have a book that you've written and you want people to know about it, I'm happy to put in a plug for you. If you have a blog, anything like that, I'm happy to just talk about the history of these bands which have such an impact on us today, all music today. The descendants is the right word, the descendants of the Grateful Dead, they're still in debt to the past. And I think just like how people don't want to talk, I think classical music is so important for knowing all the music today. But of course, the really young people will be like, I don't even want to listen to that old people music, They think that there's no point for them to hear the Beatles or the Grateful Dead or whatever. And they're wrong, right? It's so important that you hear what came before you to know what actually is inspiring the musicians who make the music today. So that's my little episode on Terrapin Station. Some other things, if you haven't checked out, or if you're just like, I'm going to be having a big Beatles series dropping in a week or so. The first episode's going to come out June 7th. I listened to the entire Beatles Help album, which, surprise, I know cover to cover, word for word, every single instrument, every single guitar solo. So you get to see me sing and jam along and share my thoughts on each of the tracks and which ones are my favorite. And it's pretty good. I recorded that first episode and I was like, gosh, I wish I could release it now, but I'm saving it because I have some travel coming up this summer and I just want to have content coming out even when I'm traveling. So I figured I'd pre-record some Beatles stuff, which that I feel I'm an expert in. So I may not know the Grateful Dead, but I know the Beatles, which then reminded me like, oh my God, I know all this, like the sitar music, With and Without You, anyway, that's a later album. And Beatles Help, we're still in just like a simple male-female breakup relationship. The whole thing's just about breakups and getting back together and breakups. Help, I need somebody. Anyway, I don't want to spoil the episode, but that's going to be great, dropping June 7th. I learned Ripple briefly, and then my mom was like, you should record a really high quality version of that and release it on your Spotify. And I'm like, honestly, Mom, maybe you're right. My mom's smart and she's a boomer and she tells me things and my parents are my number one supporters. They have YouTube on their TV at home and they literally just play my channel all day so that and whenever a new video comes out, they're like, oh, we saw your new video. So they're like my number one supporters, which is so nice to have parents who support me. They've always believed in me. I just never thought I knew I was always going to be famous. I just didn't know I was going to become famous for reacting to jam bands. Okay? I was like, since I was a little girl, I used to get on stage. We had this fireplace that was elevated and I was like this little girl and I got on there and I was singing and performing and I was like, oh, I'm going to be a public figure one day. I just know it. I'm going to be famous. And then I was like, I'll probably be a singer. I'll be on Broadway. And it's like, I'm going to react to jam bands. Who knew? But it's all a process. And where I go from here, who knows? The world is your oyster, as they say, right? So this is just the beginning. I went to a Goose show this week. I talk about it. I have fish reactions. This was The Eyes of the World, which was my favorite Dead song I heard so far. I have my funny ChatGPT episode. Some people got offended by this ChatGPT episode because I go for the whole episode. I talk about what ChatGPT thinks. I talk about why I was afraid to listen to the Dead. And then I say one word. I say the word Judeo-Christian once. And people lose their effing mind. And I'm like, guys, if you actually listen to how my philosophy of what I talk about is spiritual experience, it has nothing to do with the Bible. It has nothing to do with Christianity. Nothing. My experience that I've experienced is more actually this pan spirituality. So it's so funny. People got so offended by me bringing up religion. And I'm like, okay, you guys, you might want to ask yourself if the word Judeo-Christian or Christianity or Judaism, if any of those things offend you, the Bible, just mentioning it as a historical document, as a literature document, if that freaks you out, you should question why. Because if you actually listen to what I say, I don't even talk about anything that's in those philosophies. I just go, in our culture, which, by the way, America was based on Judeo-Christian court system. Our judicial system was based on courts. You'd have to look that up, by the way. So don't be offended. So anyway, that's funny about that. People are like, wow. I go, wow, 95% of the episode I'm talking about completely unrelated subjects. I say that one word. Some people lose their shit. I'm like, you guys, it's okay. I know you probably weren't allowed to talk about religion and politics when you were growing up, and you're only allowed to talk about the weather, but we will be okay, people. I didn't even say it. Anyway, it was interesting. Of course, Billy Strings, Sarah Hull. Here's all the work that I do when I have to blur out videos for copyright. String Cheese Incident. They're another jam band. I listened to Dark Star. Oh my God, that was interesting. Estimated Profit live. Foam. I love that song. Oh my God, this Fish song is my love. Okay. China Cat Sunflower was great. It was the first Dead song where I was like, okay, this band has potential. I might be able to like them. That was the beginning. White Shrimp Panic, Goose, Ghost. Anyway, you can just see there's a lot of content here. I've been working really hard. Honestly, 2 to 4 hours a day. 4 is a lot, right? But some days I do put in 4 hours of work. And I'm going to keep up at this until I make it. Because I'm going to work as hard so that I can get to where I want to be. One, I love that I work in music already, that I teach singing and piano, but even better that now I'm building up an audience from people all over the world, and we're all united in one thing, which is music. And that's why it doesn't really matter what our politics are, or what our religions are, or what our spirituality, which I agree with. We can all unite over music, so we don't need to be divisive. But sometimes I might talk about something that's my experience because I grew up a certain way, and if that is somehow related to how I've experienced the world, you should just listen and be like, oh, that's interesting. Don't think that I'm making a judgment on you for not growing up like that or not having that. That's not how I am at all. It's just like, I'd like to hear about how other people grew up, and I don't then get like, oh my God, I can't believe they're talking about how they were raised. Like, okay, so chill. I will love you and accept you as long as you're kind and nice to other people, as long as you're not hurting other people, as long as you're not mean. Basically, I practice the golden rule. So if you can, and I'm very libertarian. It's like, do whatever you want to do as long as you don't hurt other people. That's how I am with everything. I'm super libertarian. I don't want to like police substances and stuff like that. I'm like, to each their own until it impacts my life. Okay. So do whatever you want as long as you're not hurting anybody. But if you're hurting people, I have a problem with it. And that could go for either, physical and even emotional. Bullying online. That's not nice to say mean things to people behind your keyboard. And if you want to say something to me, and you really feel like I'm wrong about something, DM me on my Linktree. I have a Discord, I have a Snapchat, I have Instagram. There's ways to send me private messages because YouTube took away that feature like 10 years ago. But there are private message options on my Linktree. If you join my Patreon, you can also message me directly. So just some options in case you're like, I have to tell Erica something, but I don't want to write it in a comment. Go ahead. I try to read all my emails. I think even my email's listed in my account because I have a corporate email. So if you need to send me a message, send me a message. I will take feedback, especially if you think it's going to help my channel. So if you're like, never say Judeo-Christian again. Oh, you're going to isolate me. I'm like, dude, I literally wasn't even talking about anything to do with Christianity. If you actually know about Judaism and Christianity, my beliefs aligned with nothing. It was not like this vengeful God striking you down. It was like, sometimes when I sing, I feel connected to everybody in the world, that all our souls are one. That's not Christianity at all, by the way. So, just want to point that out. Are we good? All right. Have a wonderful day. Until next time on Erica Reacts to the Grateful Dead.